where do you start with someone? Because obviously this is years and years of work you've done.
Yeah.
And there's so many entry points that you could go, but it also is kind of overwhelming. Holy cow, Courtney, you're doing so much. I don't have this, but I'm trying to find myself. I'm trying to love myself and stop that, be the best parent for my children and the best person out there for myself. Where do you usually start with, let's say mothers or anyone that works with you?
Yeah, so first we start with breakthrough call. And I mean, just first and foremost, let's see where you're at. What are your biggest challenges? I mean, really feeling it and understanding, like, if nothing changes, like, what's the worst case scenario? And that's an emotional consequence. All the moms that I talk to, they're just like, I'm so stressed out, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so
Mm,
tired, I'm exhausted. And half of them are like, I'm like, well, what are you doing for yourself? And they're like, nothing. And I'm like, okay, okay, right. And a lot of them are, yeah, again, just sacrificing, nurturing, caretaking, like everything we've talked to already. And so I have an 8 week crash course, more or less. I need to fine tune that. It's called the Me First eight
mhm.
week program. And it's the first week is the life wheel. And the life wheel is so important because I think from a financial standpoint, we all like, we balance our portfolios and, we're like, is this foreign or domestic or, how much is in here? And, how risky is this based on my age? And, I think we all do that, but why don't we do that for our life? Why don't we sit down and figure out, how am I doing in relationships, career, spirituality, mentality, right? Social, like my social right now is a 2. And so the life wheel, when you think about it, from zero to the bullseye, from the bullseye out to the perimeter, this is the 10. You want a beautiful, harmonious tire to drive on. You don't want my one piece of the pie, which is social, a 2, because now I'm like wonky and driving on more or less a flat tire. That's
Yeah.
not harmonious, and I'm not living in alignment with what my true soul is craving and yearning for. So that's just an example of like week 1 is the life wheel. And so we're like, let's give us a benchmark. Let's give us a um, common foundation so we're both on the same page of where how and then what 2 things could we do to get there. So one mom, for instance, was very much overweight, not taking care of herself in the way that she could and the way she knew. And I'm like, well, do what's your morning routine like? And so she just ended up adding lemon to her water. So every morning she'd wake up, and every single morning for like however many, 2 days, a week, 3 weeks, she had massive IBS too, and some bowels and like some bowels and stomach issues. And no joke, like 2 days, 3 days, lemon water on an empty stomach, no more bowel, like no more digestive issues and crampage in the morning. So just like the little things, like that's just one example. I mean, so you can imagine the entire life wheel. It is a little bit overwhelming, but it's such a beautiful thing to see. Wow, this is my life on paper. Now you put it up on your refrigerator and you have a couple things to just work on, and then you move the needle. And like if we're driving or if we're sailing, if we just move that steering wheel, right, a little bit, our trajectory is that much more. Like we are in a totally different trajectory. So it's just little baby steps, new routines, new rituals. And then I'm like, you do the rituals, I'll show you the results. So we don't need to go get medals and certifications, and we just need a PhD in results in our own life. And some people aren't even, taking care of us first. And when we're the best versions of ourselves, then we can show up for everybody else and be the best version for them, which is going to be just a beautiful new song and dance. It's a totally
Yeah.
different dynamic.
It's
So,
amazing how these small shifts, these little things, lemon, in your water in the morning can have such an impact. And we usually get hung up that we have to have these giant shifts and groundbreaking events that are going to be so
yeah.
much effort to really change our lives. But our lives are, aligned for our best and highest purpose already. And sometimes we
Hmm.
just need to make the small little steps, celebrate those small wins, and keep
Hmm.
going. and
Yeah.
and then you have this, the vicious disease cycle becomes this upward cycle and this evolution towards a higher purpose and a
Mhm.
higher way of living. So, I mean,
Higher
Courtney,
vibration, higher
yeah.
frequency, all of that. Absolutely. I want to be levitating. Like, let's all levitate.
We all want to get to nirvana, right? We all want something, but there's something to be said about, the ups and downs as we spoke about earlier of healing and understanding that, it isn't a linear, just upward motion. Sometimes the downs are part of the evolutionary process in leading us towards a higher, up then
Oh,
as
they're
we
needed.
continue to
No,
go up.
every breakthrough, I say every breakdown is an absolute opportunity for a breakthrough,
Yes.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like every time I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like it's almost like the kernel in the microwave, the popcorn kernel, right? It's just like it's
Yeah.
getting hot and it's like, oh gosh. And it's this breakdown of the molecule, but then pop. It's this
Right.
beautiful breakthrough and it's delicious.
And
So,
then if you could reframe every challenge or failure as something of a learning lesson that's going to, help you improve, then is it truly a failure or a challenge, or is it a blessing and a
mhm,
success? It's just how you
absolutely.
frame it, and it's just how much time you give it. At the time it
Mhm.
happens, it may seem devastating, and it probably will feel that way, of course. But if you allow it to unfold and have faith and use
Yeah.
it to your highest level, it usually turns out to be a very good thing. And that goes
For,
with
yeah, I
disease as well.
wouldn't trade it in for the world. I mean, you got to get through it, and it's so much self dignity.
Yeah.
It's just who you are, and it's all part of the makeup and the energy and the identity, and I think everybody, when they can make their mess their message, like the world, we could all live so much better, and we would learn so much faster.